Today I'm going to go over 5 things you can do now before your bees arrive this spring. Number 1, check your city and county ordinances to make sure that it's legal for you to keep bees in your backyard. Check to find out how many hives you're allowed to have and if you need to register with the state. Number 2, you're going to need to educate yourself. You're going to want to go to your local library or order some books online. I really like Beekeeping for Dummies. It's one that I go back to again and again. I'm able to go and look up things that I should do differently or find solutions to my problems. The Backyard Beekeeper is really good if you're trying to decide to become a beekeeper or not. She lists out a lot of the pros and cons. And then the Beekeeper's Handbook is a book you should get if you do decide to become a beekeeper because it gives you a deep dive into it. You can also go onto YouTube and look up tutorials and see what bees and queens look like. Number 3, you're going to want to find some local resources. Go online and find some local people, a beekeepers association, maybe a mentor that you can go and watch this spring and summer to see how they maintain and take care of their bees. You can also find beekeeping conferences going on over the next few months this spring where they will teach classes and teach you tips and tricks for how to be a better beekeeper. Now is the time to be buying your beehive woodenware because you can save a lot of money by buying it unassembled and taking this time during the winter before your bees show up to assemble it and stain it or paint it. We have found that the stain holds up a lot better to paint. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this hive apart, and then when I put it back together, I'll talk you through all the parts and pieces that you're going to need. So I was able to take this beehive apart because it's not currently being used. Right here we have the foundation of your bee's home. This is called the bottom board, and right here in the front is the landing board where they can land and go inside the hive when they've got pollen, nectar, and things to bring back inside, including water. Right here is an entrance reducer. This is something you'll need when you have a brand new hive that doesn't have a lot of bees. It helps them to guard their home from wasps and other honeybees so that they don't have as big of an entrance to protect. This is a deep box for the brood where the honeybees live, and it's the spot that they call home. It's actually quite heavy when it's full of honey and bees, and so I use 8-frame boxes. I would say most people use a 10-frame box, but that increases the weight, and since I'm not able to carry hundreds of pounds at a time, I went with an 8-frame beehive setup. So this brood box goes on top of the landing board. And right here, I've got a mouse guard, and this is really important to have during the winter. Otherwise, mice will go inside and make it home, which you do not want. So inside of here, like I said before, this is 8 frames across. And this is a Langstroth hive, and it was invented so that beekeepers could take the honeycomb out and check on their bees. So when I open this up in the summer, I'm looking inside of here to look for eggs to make sure that my queen is still laying and in the hive. I'm looking to see how many resources they have. Do they have honey, nectar, and pollen, or are they running low and struggling? I really like to have these little side hanger bars because it's easiest to inspect the hive if you first take out maybe this 2nd frame, and then you're able to have a little more room, as you can see, to grab the other frames, because if this is crawling with bees, it's hard to pull it out without bumping the bees and disturbing them, and maybe even, unfortunately, squishing them. On top of this, you can put another deep brood box, or you can do mediums on top of that, and so this is a medium box, again 8 frames across, and this is a box that I used to have the bees make honey inside of, and so these frames are a little cleaner and newer looking because honey's not as dirty as down in the brood box where they raise their baby bees. On top of this goes what's called the inner lid. It has some entrances so that the bees can get in from the top, which is especially helpful if their landing board is covered with snow. So you can decide whether you want it flipped shallow side down or deep side down. When I'm feeding my bees in the early spring and in the fall, I put it down deep side down so that I can put what's called a pollen patty inside, which is just bee food I can use to supplement my bees' diet. Next I have what works as an attic for the bees. It's just a medium box that we cut a hole in and added screen to keep out unwanted insects and pests. Then I add a screen inside of here where there's a circle cut out of the inner lid, and that is where I can also feed the bees sugar water in the early spring and late fall. Then I add burlap. This helps to keep it insulated because the bees keep their home in the mid-90s all year long. Summer, winter, spring, and fall, it doesn't matter. The bees want the inside of their brood box to be very warm, and so I try to help them as much as I can by giving them some insulation. This also acts as a wick to keep condensation from building up inside of the hive. One of the last pieces here is the lid, and this just helps make the hive a little more weatherproof, protects it from the rain and the snow, and protects some of the woodenware from sun during the very hottest part of the day. Last, I do recommend that you strap your hive down, because even in a suburban area, you can get skunks and raccoons, and then all they have to do is push your hive over, the boxes will fall apart, and they'll start eating your bees. I'm going to give you a peek inside of this beehive, but let me say one thing first about a bee suit. Make sure you get a ventilated bee suit, because you're going to end up with a ventilated bee suit. Let's take a look inside. Here's how the bees are doing. They've got a pretty good population for this time of year. And right now there's only female bees inside this hive. Number 5, order your bees. If you decided that you want to become a beekeeper, this is the time to order them. If you wait until spring, it may be too late and they could be sold out. So remember, if you're thinking you want to get bees this spring, look into the local laws, educate yourself, join a local beekeeping association or find a mentor, order your boxes, your bee suit, and order your bees.